And it's Oscar time. Our VOA entertainment team in Hollywood previews some of the year's best films. Africa 54 starts right now. Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Tonight, a violent hotel attack in Somalia has killed at least 10 people, including Mogadishu's Deputy Mayor Mohamed Aden Guled. Somali officials say Deputy Prime Minister Mohamed Omar Arte was among those wounded when a car bomb was triggered just after guests finished praying Friday at the Central Hotel. A VOA report in Mogadishu says a second explosion and gunfire was also part of the deadly attack. A Somali security agent spokesman says a car filled with explosives was moved onto the hotel grounds during the prayer session. Authorities say an investigation is underway to find out who detonated the vehicle. Officials also said the hotel guards are being questioned. The Central Hotel is popular with members of parliament and government ministers. President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed condemned the attack via Twitter, calling the incident an outrage and saying his thoughts are with those who were wounded. A witness explains how he avoided being killed.
I escaped through the rear exit of the hotel, but on my way out, I saw a lot of people lying dead on the ground.
Well, the terrorist group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attack. In recent years, the Islamist extremist organization has carried out repeated attacks on government and civilian targets in Somalia as part of what it says is an effort to establish its version of Islamic law. While pledging to galvanize international efforts to combat violent extremism, the United States has announced a series of regional summits and events to keep the issue high on the minds of world leaders. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry discussed extremism Thursday in Washington. VOA State Department correspondent Pam Dawkins tells us more.
As nations cope with atrocities by the Islamic State, Boko Haram, and similar groups, world leaders are seeking ways to loosen the grip of violent extremists. Nations must work together to stop extremist groups' messages of hate, according to Secretary of State Kerry.
Poisonous ideas can come from almost anywhere. From parents, teachers, friends, preachers, politicians, from the pretty woman on a radical website who lures people, or the man in the next cell who proselytizes while in prison.
One country dealing with extremist violence is Jordan, after Islamic State militants captured one of its pilots in Syria and used social media to show his violent death. The country's foreign affairs minister Nasser Judah says violent extremism has no religious boundaries.
If anyone had any doubt that this is our war as Muslims and our collective war as an international community, that doubt has been removed.
The United States estimates more than 20,000 foreign fighters have joined the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, with at least 3,400 coming from Western nations. To fight the recruiting efforts of extremist groups, the White House is trying to bolster community engagement in building awareness and looking for signs of radicalization. That's especially important for young people who may feel trapped in impoverished communities, says President Obama.
Where there is no order and no path for advancement, where there are no educational opportunities, where there are no ways to support families, and no escape from injustice and the humiliations of corruption. That feeds instability and disorder and makes those communities ripe for extremist recruitment.
The White House says religious leaders are key to combating extremist violence, like last month's deadly attacks in Paris. In a VOA interview, the Mufti of Tirana, Albania, called Islamic State extremist monsters playing on human faith.
I feel pain and am shocked by this barbarity of the 21st century that ISIS is conducting.
President Obama has requested nearly $400 million for the State Department to support counterterrorism partnerships, including new outreach efforts, says National Security Advisor Susan Rice.
The United States will launch new initiatives to build the capacity of partners in North Africa and the Sahel to develop strategies that counter violent extremism. And we're going to track our collective progress with future meetings to make sure our efforts remain linked up.
The U.S. and its global partners plan to assess their progress in the fight against extremism at the UN General Assembly in September. Pam Dawkins, VOA News, the State Department.
Well, for more perspective, joining me now on the phone from Minneapolis, Minnesota, is Abdul Warsame. He's a Minneapolis City Council member. Mr. Warsame, welcome to Africa 54. And I know you did attend the summit here in Washington. You just got back to Minneapolis. What is the message that you brought to the leadership here in Washington?
I mean, the message we brought was that the Somali American community and the Muslim community in the Twin Cities and the state of Minnesota are part of the solution in tackling radical extremism and in making sure that our youths are no longer susceptible to this message and that they don't travel overseas to join these theaters of war.
Now, Councilman, you know, there has always been this talk about the reasons why these young men who have grown up here in the West would go and join extremist organizations. Is it easy, really, to pinpoint what the exact problem is?
I mean, it's not easy. It's a very complicated reality. But I think one of it is lack of education. And in terms of my community, it was a lack of education about where they came from. I mean, the people who are going back are either were born in the United States or they came as children. I mean, the adults are not susceptible to this message because the adults understand the reality where they came from. They understand the brutality of the environment which they fled. They understand the refugee camps. But the young children who were born in America, we did not do a good job of educating them, you know, about their own recent history, the recent history of their families and the tragedies that happened in East Africa. I think that played a part into it. The other part was the intervention of the Ethiopian government and their army in Somalia in 2006 triggered a nationalistic, uproar in the Somali diaspora, which was used by groups like Al-Shabaab to entice these youths. So it wasn't a religious sentiment that was at the beginning that was appealing to them, but it was the nationalistic sentiment of defending their people against the encroachment of the Ethiopians.
Now, what is the community like there in Minneapolis doing to ensure that these young kids do not get enticed by those foreign groups that are, want them to kill and die?
Yeah, I mean, the community is doing a great job now. The imams of the mosques, the community leaders, the parents, and the youth leadership have come together and then started to educate the community and educate and tell stories about even those who left behind the tragedies that they faced. And I think putting a human aspect to this reality has helped us. And we've done a much better job than before, and we are aware of the situation, but we do need support and we do need help. And then that's what the message that I brought to Washington, which was we do need support in uplifting the Somali American community in the Twin Cities and developing their human capacity so they become better integrated into the mainstream society and therefore not susceptible to such dangerous messages. Well,
Councilman Warsame, thank you very much. Abdul Warsame is a Minneapolis City Council member. Well, it is estimated that more than 25% of Americans have left the faith they were raised in, and while all major faiths have lost adherents, many of those who abandoned Islam face particular hardships. VOA religion correspondent Jerome Sokolovsky went to a support group that helps former Muslims who may feel ostracized or disoriented.
During the holidays, a Washington bar hosted a private party. There was no shortage of booze or blasphemy.
There is no God.
The party was organized by ex-Muslims of North America, a support group for those who have left the faith.
You feel safe with these people.
Samira Mukhtar grew up in the United Arab Emirates and became an atheist after moving to the U.S. She says life after Islam has its pitfalls.
Like if somebody asks me, what do you want to drink? I get scared because I'm like, I don't know. Because there's so many things out there, What do you want it on? I don't know. I don't know any of the names, I just something sweet. That's all I can say.
There are many Muslim countries and, of course, the United States represented here tonight. And many of the people here say they never met a former Muslim before joining this group.
He was the first ex-Muslim I ever met in my life. And it was absolutely amazing.
Pakistani-born Sarah Haidar, who grew up in Texas, is talking about co-founder Muhammad Syed.
She was shocked that there are other people that are like her. Oh my God. So at that point, we were talking and we're like, okay, I'm sure there are lots of people that are doing their own thing. Let's try to find how many others are out there.
There are people in Maryland.
Haidar says fear prevents people from talking about it.
Many Muslims take it as a personal insult when you step out and step away from the religion. And I understand why they think that it is, but I think it's extremely... It creates a situation where people are afraid to speak their minds, where dissent isn't really respected on any level.
Many here asked not to be filmed. But there is a camaraderie that is born of a shared suffering, including threats of death and disownment, Syed said before the party.
We've had this happen multiple times where one of our members, their families found out, and we get a call at midnight that I've been kicked out of the house and I need help.
Allah. Washington area Imam Mohammed Majid says some Muslims believe apostasy is a capital crime in their faith, and he insists they are wrong.
I'm asking those people, what are you teaching? Are you telling the person he has to pretend to be Muslim to be safe? What kind of religion is this?
Allahu Akbar. Major polling organizations have not published data on how many Muslims in the U.S. leave their faith.
The Bartender's Black Book. Oh, wow. This is awesome.
But former Muslims say the internet has made it easier than ever to find each other. Just a few years after its founding, Ex-Muslims of North America now has chapters in more than a dozen cities. Jerome Sokolovsky, VOA News, Washington.
Well, now to West Africa, where over 150 Boko Haram captives were reunited with their families in Nigeria's Yobe state on Thursday, almost 1 month after their release by the terrorist group. At the end of January, the Islamist group released about 190 captives who had been kidnapped on January 6th. They returned to their community but were placed in a rehabilitation camp. A government official says most of the released captives were children, but over 60 of them were adults. Some of the women in the group said that while in captivity, they were treated well and never humiliated or abused by the militants. However, as they were released, the Boko Haram fighters threatened to one day come back for them. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54 and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, moviegoers react to one of the films nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. Stay with us. Welcome back. Hollywood is gearing up for the Academy Awards, their highlight event of the year for the film industry. From Hollywood, VOA's Michael Sullivan looks at some of the possible Oscar winners.
Of course we can do that. It's our show.
Top contenders at the Oscars include the drama Birdman, with Michael Keaton as a Best Actor nominee, and the film's co-stars, Edward Norton and Emma Stone, up for supporting Oscars for this tale of a washed-up movie superhero who tries to revive his career on the Broadway stage.
You had a career, Dad, before the third comic book movie, before people started to forget who was inside that bird costume.
Mexican filmmaker Alejandro Iñárritu co-wrote and directed Birdman, and is considered a top contender for the Oscar for Best Director. Richard Linklater is another frontrunner for Best Director for the coming-of-age tale Boyhood, a film that was shot over a 12-year period. Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette are Oscar nominees for their supporting roles. The Imitation Game, from Norwegian movie maker Morten Tildum, is another multiple Oscar nominee. Star Benedict Cumberbatch will compete for the Oscar for Best Actor for playing the World War II codecracker Alan Turing. The film is based on a real-life story of the people who deciphered the German secret code called Enigma.
I like solving problems, Commander. And Enigma is the most difficult problem in the world.
No, Enigma isn't difficult, it's impossible. The Americans, the Russians, the French, the Germans, everyone thinks Enigma is unbreakable.
Good. Let me try, and we'll know for sure, won't we?
Keira Knightley will compete for an Oscar for her supporting role.
Correct. Then universe is expanding, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so...
The theory of everything about the relationship between real-life physicist Stephen Hawking and his former wife Jane brought Oscar nods for both stars, Eddie Redmayne and Felicity Jones. Other major film contenders include The Grand Budapest Hotel, a comedy from director Wes Anderson. The Iraq War film American Sniper earned an Oscar nomination for star Bradley Cooper. Julianne Moore is a Best Actress nominee for her role as a woman with early-onset Alzheimer's disease in Still Alice. Reese Witherspoon and Laura Dern are acting nominees for the film Wild, a real-life story based on a woman's journey of healing and self-discovery. Among foreign language nominees are the corruption tale Leviathan from Russia, and the French-Mauritanian entry Timbuktu, which is based on real events in northern Mali under repressive jihadist rule in 2012. The film Virunga is among the nominees for Best Documentary Feature. It looks at heroic efforts to save mountain gorillas in a national park in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The eyes of the world will be on Hollywood on Sunday, when the winners are announced at the Oscar ceremony at the Dolby Theater. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Hollywood.
We're now joined by our very dapper colleague, VOA Roger Munter, Los Angeles. Roger, you are in Hollywood. You look like you're in Hollywood, of course, to cover the Oscar 2015. Tell us what is going on there. What's the vibe? What's the energy?
Well, a lot, Vince. A lot's going on here. Let me just give you a great general idea of how they are preparing for the 87th Academy Award ceremony presented by the Academy of Motion Picture Art and Science. This event that will honor the best film of 2014 and will take place this coming Sunday, February 22nd. But it just has everybody talking about it in the city. It's great. Soon as I arrived, actually, in LA, you could just feel the ambiance in Hollywood. Some street events are already closed to ensure that public safety and facilitate the production of this year's Oscar, which is making it hard for people to move around. The traffic is just crazy. But restaurants, a bunch of restaurants are packed, and it's really hard at this time, Vince, to even get an hotel room.
Oh my
You'll
goodness!
Just stay on the street. But
Wow.
Everybody's pumped and
Everybody's having a good time. But, the movie Timbuktu, which is directed by Abdramani Sissako, has been nominated for the Best Foreign Language Film at the 87th Academy Awards. Tell us more about this movie.
Yes, Vance. Timbuktu is nominated, as you say, the best foreign language film. For those who have not watched it, and I'm assuming you haven't, I did back home last Friday. It's pretty much a city ruled by the religious fundamentalist. And in town, in that movie, you can see in town, the people suffer powerless from the regime of terror imposed by the jihadists and determined to control their faith. In that movie, Vince, you also notice that music, laughter, and cigarettes, even soccer, have been banned. Every day, the new imposed court issue a tragic and absurd sentences. And it's many people who I've met here, Vince, think that the movie just came right on time with what's going on around the world. And they mention for that, for instance, the schoolgirls who were kidnapped by Islamic militants in Nigeria, and the Charlie Hebdo tragedy, where gunmen have attacked the office, of French magazine Charlie Hebdo in Paris.
Yeah, because these are not fictitious things. These are real events. Some that have happened, some that are actually taking place. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I met with the African community here in LA. They were very, very happy. Not only because it's a film that's being produced by an African, one of their brother, as they say, but also because the subject is really important and it means a lot to them.
Yeah. Well, now before you flew out to L.A., before Roger flew out to L.A., stopped by Timbuktu's first time showing in Bethesda, Maryland, and was able to get some reactions after the movie. So let's watch them.
I thought it was really well done. It's very relaxed and sedate, but it's powerful. It's got beautiful cinematography for landscape, and the story, it's very intense, but it's reserved.
Every single bad thing about what's happening in the world was in that movie. Everything.
Oh, I thought it was interesting how they kind of showed the human side of even the terrorists also.
I guess it was just more of a surprise, more of a culture shock to really experience those from the area and what they go through. I guess especially in today's modern age.
It's just too unsettling. We don't need that. We read about it in the paper. We know all this stuff is out there.
I think the director was very respectful in showing that they had their own cultural values, but also showed how when other people impose their values or religion, that it can be painful.
Chance to win the Oscars?
I hope so. I thought it was a very good movie. I haven't seen the other movies that it's up against, but I hope it, progresses. So.
What about you, Jen?
It's a different kind of movie, so I normally don't follow Oscars, but I know the ones that do win have a certain emotional tug, and this is from a totally different angle that I don't think any other movie that I've seen in recent times approaches. It's a new perspective.
So which might not.
Right. No, I think it will get attention because it's a part of the world that is ignored for the most part, and it shows the beauty and the cultural difference.
Well, Roger, good sharing that with us, and all of us who haven't watched it definitely are looking forward to watching that movie. Just a very final question here. Which specific movie is competing with Timbuktu in this particular category?
Well, Vince, the fight is on. The other films that Timbuktu will go up against are Leviathan by Russian Tragedy and Ida, I will say, a Polish drama. But just quickly to finish this up, Vince, I spoke with Timbuktu director Abdraman Sissako on the phone. He will be here Saturday morning, and we'll probably get a chance to interview him. He told me, and I quote this, Roger, just the fact that I'm nominated means a lot to me. And this is not just for me, but also for Mauritanians and all Africans in general.
And I think it is. Well, Roger, thank you very much. Enjoy the good weather here down there, and don't get so used to it. You'll be back very soon.
I will, then. Thank you.
All right, viewers, Roger Munter reporting live from Hollywood. It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. My main man, Sunny Young, is here with sports. We'll be right back.
Like Voice of America on Facebook. Follow VOA on Twitter. Join VOA on our YouTube channel. Like, follow, join VOA.
Well, it's time for our Friday Sports Report, and here's Sunny Young with the sunny side of sports. Hello, Sunny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Here's a sunny side of sports salute to Kenyan athlete Yvonne Ngitic for her courageous crawl across the finish line at the Austin Marathon in Texas. The 29-year-old Ngitic was the leading woman for most of the race, but she collapsed to the ground with about 50 meters to the finish line. On her hands and knees in obvious pain, she began an agonizing crawl to the finish line. Some of the fans in Austin started to cry as they witnessed Ngitic's determination, but most cheered her on as she crossed the line. Race director John Conley was among those who praised her heroic effort.
You ran the bravest race and crawled the bravest crawl I have ever seen in my life.
Thank you.
You have earned much honor.
In addition to earning much honor, Yvonne Ngitic also earns another sunny side of sports salute for her brave performance in Austin, Texas. She ended up finishing as the third woman overall, but the race director, John Conley, says she received the same prize money as the second-place woman who passed her during her crawl. I'm Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Well, Sonny, I think so impressive there, you know, your eye being on that little line there. She was so determined.
Yeah, great performance by Ngitic, and I know you noticed she's from Kenya also.
Yes, of course. You're so proud of her.
Where else?
and she couldn't just even, you know, for a moment think about the pain she was going through.
I
She
think
just had
that has
finish
to
the
be
race.
one of the most memorable finishes I've seen in a marathon race, especially because she was leading most of the race.
Exactly. It's good to see that she got the same prize money as the person who passed her.
And the
she was
woman who
crawling.
ended up winning the race was also from Kenya. I don't know her name off the top of my head,
That
but
is what we do, you know.
but Ngitic was clearly a great story.
Exactly. Well, thanks a lot, Sunny, and be sure to watch Sunny Side of Sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Ali.
On
VOA.
qubanaha VOA waxaan ku soo gudbinnaa qubanayaal goosgoos ah oo xiiso badan oo ku saabsan arrimaha Soomaaliya, Maraykanka iyo caalamkaba.
haddaba qubanaha VOA-da kala soco website-keena voasomali.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report.
I'm Milar Sega. I'm the host of VOA's The Correspondents.
A roundup of the world's top stories.
Here's a false choice in more ways than one.
We can't actually put you there, but we can come pretty close. In 30 minutes, we'll show you the world.